All right.
We have 3 waiting. Cool.
Yeah, the magic button has been pressed. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us today for episode number 28 of the Tattoo Weekly, hosted by myself, Lauren Gregory, Gabe Ripley of TattooNow, and Jake Meeks of the Fireside Tattoo Network. Today, we're going to check in with Gabe from the Inspiring Tours, hosted by Nick Baxter and Sean Barber. So get your eyes ready for some beautiful views. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, Facebook, or the Reinventing website, let us know that these streams are working in the chat, or tag a friend who loves tattoos and would like to join in on the fun. You guys can check out some of our Reinventing weekly drawing groups and shows on the Reinventing Network too that are happening almost every single day, as well as 24/7 footage on our new Roku channel, which is really cool. What you need to do to find us on there is hook up your Roku device and search Reinventing the Tattoo for 24/7 streamed content. Thanks again to our sponsors for helping us push out this content to you guys every single week. World Tattoo Events, giving us the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events in the world. Thank you to Raw Pigments with their acrylic-free inks, and D-Lives Pro, helping artists and clients protect their art. Also, thank you to our affiliates, Jake, Fireside Tattoo, The Apprenticeship Diaries, and eco-friendly TattooSupplies.com. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Gabe and Jake and kick off episode number 28.
Hey,
Gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How goes it?
It's going great.
Great.
Yeah, we could do a few little introductions here and then.
Yeah.
roll
So
our
I'm Gabe Ripley from TattooNow and Paradise Events, and in this case, Inspiring Tours. I'll be real quick today because I have to run in, and I started the event at the same time as this show. So
Good thinking. I'm Jake Meeks. I run the Fireside Tattoo Network. You can go to firesidetattoo.com, keep up with us, or go to our YouTube channel where we have tons and tons of content to help tattooers draw better pictures. And I'm jealous. I wish I was at the Inspiring Tours event. I had a conflict, or I definitely would love to be sitting right there next to you. That looks so nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I'm Lauren with Reinventing the Tattoo and Raw Pigments. Getting excited for today's show. I'll roll our clip, and then Gabe, I'd like to see you look around before you get started.
Yeah.
All right.
back on.
Yeah, you're on.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, show us around.
Yeah, here we go. We're at the Sam O'Reilly house in North Conway, New Hampshire. So as you can see, there's quite the the scenery here.
Yeah.
And let's see, I could come around in here. We've got Sean Barber and Nick Baxter are going to be doing the workshops. And this is the studio. This is there's all the computer equipment, but we've got the still life here that Sean's probably
Yeah.
sunshine. Yeah, so I'm going to be just pretty quick though, because the whole point is that we've got 5 people here for 4 days, and so we're going to be focusing on them, and not worrying about Instagram or fucking social media or any of that bullshit. Just kind of relaxing and learning and inspired. It's already started, as you can imagine. Breakfast, Sean's in there chatting away, and well, we will be doing these again.
Yeah. We had planned one of these. We had just started kind of planning for these types of things, you and I, before COVID hit, and then it kind of put the brakes on, and then you put this one together. And I met the guy. What's his name? Who owns this place? He's a tattooer.
Jason Zuby.
Jason Zuby, man, what a great guy. I hung out with him a lot at the Paradise event. He's a former pro wrestler. He had so many crazy stories. Yeah, it was the most interesting conversation I've had in I don't know how long. So I hate that I'm not there. I would love to just go there and talk to that guy some more, even without Sean and Nick. But yeah, I'm jealous. I'm excited for you guys.
It's pretty cool. Like, so this is the bed and breakfast in here, and yeah,
nice.
it's well, yeah, I was going to say we definitely have interest to do this again. So let's set some dates. We also have the Memphis. You have the good spot there.
Yeah.
And I remember Bob. Bob was like, "Hell yeah, I'll go to Memphis." So we got to. Oh, speaking of Jason, hey, surprise!
Oh, there he is. How's it going, Jason?
It's Jake.
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
Yeah, good to see you again, man. I wish I was there. I was just telling Gabe I'm jealous. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool. Well, I'm about to head in. So, well, I appreciate you letting me beam in a little quick. But yeah, we'll catch up in the future.
Yeah, have fun.
All right.
We'll do. Cheers.
All right, Jake, I guess it's you and I to talk about what we've been up to. How have you been? I know it's only been a week, but what's new in the Fireside realm?
So we've spent most of our time in the last week or two, or really the last month, working with Gabe, trying to reorganize all of our library of content. I think I've talked about this on the show a time or two before, but one thing that I ran into over almost a decade of putting out videos, and for the longest time, we did 1 or 2 videos a week. And it got to the point where a lot of great content, stuff that I thought was great, was kind of just getting buried, and it wasn't picking up views anymore. And a lot of times I would go to expand on something or to present an idea, and I realized I've already talked about all of this, but I have no idea how to even find it. Like searching YouTube for 700 or 800 videos to try to find where that little nugget was that I had talked about before, or that maybe not me, maybe some guest that we had on. And I'm like, oh, who was it that said that? Or who was it that we talked about this? So we're going through and we're trying to really organize everything by keywords and categorize content so that people can move through the type of content that they're looking for, so they can move through it seamlessly. So if someone wants to learn more about lining techniques, we probably have 15 hours worth of lining stuff. It's just all spread out on YouTube. So we're trying to make it concise, where people can just go, they could sign up for our mailing list and say, I'm interested in outlining, I'm interested in getting an apprenticeship, and we can just cater all the content, just send it to their inbox. I think that seems like the best use of our time right now, rather than just continually putting out more and more stuff that ends up lost in the sea of content.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a library, I don't know when the last time you were at an actual library, but I take my kids often, and it's meticulous, the amount of organization, even in physical books. In comparison, you have videos, but still the same concept. Yeah. If they're not particularly organized, it's hard to go through.
Yeah, it definitely is. And this is going to be a chunk of work. So I apologize if people think that we've just disappeared and we've quit doing things. We really haven't. We're working like crazy. I just I've kind of put the brakes on creating a lot of new content right now, just to focus on this. And hopefully we can, over 3 or 4 months, we can really get the majority of it hashed out. Basically what we're doing is starting with our most popular content by views, and trying to take just maybe the top 20 videos and then categorize those and put them together in a way where they make a little bit more sense. That seemed like the best way to start anyways.
So did you say you have 800 videos?
I don't know. I just invented that number. It's a lot though.
It seems like a lot.
It's a lot of, thousands of hours, of content. So yeah. So it's a lot. We'll see. We'll see just what type of I keep telling Gabe as we talk, because Gabe will dive into details, and I keep saying I don't want to get perfection. I don't want perfection to get in the way of progress. I want to get something out there, even if it's not perfect, even if we haven't cataloged everything's perfectly. I want to get something out there sooner than later. So hopefully we start to see this stuff trickle out. We've already done it with our NFT series, the most recent series that we put out. We cataloged it in a way and actually embedded it on our website and put together a little email series. And so it's just a matter, now we have that blueprint and we can start to plug it into the existing content, I hope. So cool. we got a few folks on the Fireside chat already saying, hey, 2 from California already. Edgar Calvo, Edgar Calvo and Ivan Mendoza. Ivan's been on before. Ivan says he makes coil and rotary machines. Just burned himself with a soldering iron. That's a good way to start a Monday morning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, both from California. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
I'll be headed to California. I was just going to touch on that. I'm heading there on Thursday evening for the Tahoe Tattoo Show, which I'm really looking forward to because a lot of the events I've been to recently, so like, you know, Chicago or Philadelphia, it just not the same as South Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, have you been to Tahoe before?
No, I've just been around the area like Reno and stuff like that, but
I've never done that show either, but I know so many people that say it's their favorite show. And I was talking to Baxter about that show a while back, and he was like, for tattooing, it's not always the best show. He's like, because it's kind of a destination. You're not going to get there's not a ton of traffic going through. So you kind of have to have your clientele and book in advance. But he said just for like the scenery, the extracurricular activities, getting out and painting and drawing, he said it's his favorite show.
Yeah, I'll show you guys their website real quick. So DATS runs this one. And then for those of you that aren't familiar, it's one of the only alpine lakes in the United States, or the only alpine venue in the United States. So it's in California, right on the border of Nevada as well. Lake Tahoe is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And their artist lineup looks really nice. A lot of artists I've looked up to. My friend Howie, that you know, is going to be there.
Yeah. Just talked to Howie over the weekend.
Oh, so cool. Angel Rose, she's an artist I've looked up to for a long time and worked with. All sorts of artists that a lot of us are familiar with or look up to. So, and a lot of great companies. Nuclear, I've seen them on the road so many times recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anybody's watching and they want any conversations or photos or anything like that from Tahoe, I'll definitely be sharing those next week.
Yeah, I'm excited to see some of the video and photos from there. King Yodeler here says, hi from Fayette, Arkansas. Fayette, Arkansas. I don't know exactly where that is. What's Fayette near, King Yodeler? I have a boat that I spend my weekends in Heber Springs, Arkansas on Greers Ferry Lake. I wonder if you're close to that. Speaking of lakes. So how well do you know, is it DATS that puts on that show?
Not
very well.
super well. I'm looking forward to meeting him. He's a friend of a friend. But just speaking with him through, online, seems like a great person, and he's very, very focused on doing a really nice event.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I was saying, looking at King Yodeler's Fayetteville. I know where that is.
Fayetteville,
Arkansas. Yeah, just Fayette, Arkansas. I was like, what is that? DATS also does. I don't know if he still does it, but does the Evian show, and man, the photos from there don't even look real. Like when people post, like when they get up in the mornings and take photos out of their hotel room, or whatever, it's just like, that looks like one of these destination Instagram photos that obviously is like super manipulated, but they're not. It just looks like a beautiful place.
Yeah, I think that's why they chose Lake Tahoe, clearly, just to kind of mimic that awe-striking view.
Yeah, and DATS is married to a tattooer, or his wife helps put on, or is a partner in the shows. Is that right? Or do you know? You
may be correct. I don't know 100% because I haven't met him in person yet, but maybe over the weekend we can pull him aside and do like an interview or something like that about the show, and then share it on episode next week.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I've been curious about him for a while. I've never, like I said, never met him, never even really reached out, but I just hear from enough people how much they love those two shows. And I just like the idea, anything you can do new in the tattoo convention world is, or, that set yourself apart is, I'm always excited to see. And so it kind of reminds me a little bit of what Gabe has done, over the years with like what he's doing right now with the Inspiring Tours and with Paradise events, like trying to not just do a big show in a big city, but trying to really create an experience in a location that's, that's inspiring and, for creative people.
Last week, I think Wednesday it was, we had a little like convention promoter video for TattooNow, and it was myself, Litos, Chino from Inkmania, and then Troy from Villain Arts. So we had like a little roundtable discussion about what's important, what to look for, and all that type of stuff, because there was an issue with an event in Tampa 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago that was entirely shitty, and everyone that went had something to say about it. And so that's another thing that convention promoters kind of have that weight of, is there's so many things to do right, and when you do it wrong, and do it wrong the way that you did with other convention promoters there, you know, Chris Taylor, Dirk Morrison, and people who do have successful events. Yeah, it makes you look at like an event like Tahoe as pristine, an event like that, what happened in Tampa as like the lowest level of comparison.
Yeah. And what was that on? That was, you guys did that interview on
Reinventing a Tattoo Now. Yep.
Okay.
It was just a short hour-long, 45-minute long conversation. But I always like hearing Troy's opinion because he's got such a diverse background. You know, he was started with Philadelphia. Eddie, like you said, early 20s or 18, 19 years old. So his perspective is going to be totally different than, say, Derb's perspective or Chino's perspective. So it's nice to hear how you can do things successfully yet differently, you know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And I, the event that I'm doing this coming weekend, Space City down in Huntsville, Alabama, it doesn't necessarily take like, I was talking about DATs and the interesting locations and stuff, but it's really using what's already kind of at your disposal, wherever you live, wherever you're creating the convention. I think Shaquem at Space City has done a good job of that. He finds really high quality. First off, it's the most diverse show that I go to. They're more like there's a huge group of Spanish tattooers that I've never heard of, but they're all just fantastic, and they kind of travel together. And it's the only time I ever hear from them or see them. There are a lot of local kind of Huntsville, kind of Southern, tattooers that you don't hear a lot about. But he finds high quality people that aren't necessarily like big names, because in a town like Huntsville, what he recognized is he's the only show anywhere around there. So he doesn't necessarily have to have an ink master on board to bring people through the door. They just want to, like, people are just like itching to see cool tattoos or get cool tattoos. So there's always a line out the door just because of where he is. So instead of focusing on like having to fly guys in and put them up in hotels and give them free booths and do all that just to draw people in, he recognized he has the kind of built-in audience in this town, and he just needs high quality people that are willing to put in work all weekend, because everyone's tattooing like crazy all weekend. And it's such a crazy successful show with what that makes perfect use of the like resources that they have right there in Huntsville. That town is trying to build they're trying to compete with like Silicon Valley. They've got the NASA is there, Department of Defense is there, and so they're trying to recruit young talent to come work, like engineers and technology folks, and it's tough to try to recruit a young kid out of an Ivy League school or whatever to Huntsville, Alabama, whenever they could go to San Francisco. So the whole city of Huntsville has really made a big push to make it like a destination town. Like the entire town had fiber optic internet like 4 years ago. Like before I even had heard of it, the entire place was already like run with fiber optics. So it had the fastest possible internet anywhere in the country, as early as they could possibly get it, stuff like that,
Speaking of the promoter, Shaquem, I met him several times, but he actually does go to a lot of events and takes it all in and notices things and communicates with people. He's such a nice guy. I saw him in Golden State and Chicago and other various places. So it's cool to see someone mingling and really caring about the craft, not just throwing their event and staying out of the picture the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's he definitely is eager to learn, always trying to one up, from the year before. He reached out to us early. I think we were at the first one, and he just reached out and said, he'd been watching our channel and wanted to know if we would come out and podcast at the event. And so he basically traded us a booth. And this was early on, probably 2015 or something. We had only been podcasting a couple of years. And I just saw his energy from the very start, and like the sponsors that he was bringing in, the hotel that he had it at like a Westin, like a really high end hotel that the event was held at. And I was like, wow, this is not at all what I expected. It was small, but it was like everyone was working. He had really unique music, not just like blaring bands. He had like music that I think fit the area, the scene a little bit. Massage therapists, working for $1 a minute, stuff like that, all that. And you see that stuff more and more now, but in 2015, I hadn't seen any of that before. So it's pretty cool.
Well, if we're on the topic of conventions, kind of like in that hotel vibe, a friend of mine, her name's Susu. She's married to Brandon Albus. I'm not sure, are you familiar with him, out of Dallas?
I don't think so.
Okay, so they're putting on the Center's Tattoo Expo, everybody. But the thing that's kind of special about this are their tattoo competitions, aside from, the actual event being at a beautiful location. There are some cool prize packages as long with money. And that's cool. Who doesn't want to win
Yeah.
a real big prize? So best of show
Yeah,
takes home
wow.
$5,000. Best of
Nice.
show, yeah, and their swag bags. So if you guys are interested, we'll be there with Raw Pigments. So featured artist Quinn Hernandez, one of my favorite black and gray artists from Texas, will be there. A lot of great people. Deanna is always, by the way, if you guys look up Deanna art, her apprentice is killing it.
Oh,
I'll see
really?
if I can, oh my God.
Huh.
Yeah, I'll look it up. She showed some work by her apprentice that did like a portrait on some fake skin, and I was just blown away. It's cool to see some up and coming, and I just thought of her.
Yeah, Deanna is incredible. I've met her briefly at the Evergreen show a few years back when she was. Was she on she was on a TV show or something? I think was she on one of the tattoo shows? Maybe I don't know what something. Somehow I already knew who she was, but before and she was boothed right next to Nick Baxter, and I was sitting and talking to him and watching her work.
So this is her apprentice.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was cool. It kind of reminded me almost of the combination maybe between Quinn Hernandez and David Vega, soft and subtle.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys keep your eye out on Deanna. She posts a lot, and then Tatty Natty is her apprentice.
It's funny. I think that I did a sketch of that exact same. That's a Google image. I did. It's right here. Oh, check this out. Wait.
That would be cool. I'll show you guys some more of her stuff here.
If you can see this or not, but I did a sketch of that same
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's several years old, but it's obviously one of the first sketches in Google. Kind of funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's incredible for an apprentice for sure.
Definitely. It's cool. Have you mentored many artists, or how does it work? I know you're very busy and stuff like that.
Yeah, whenever I was at Underground Art, I spent about 15 years or so there. Several apprentices came through, and we sort of apprenticed by committee. My old co-host David Evans was always the actual mentor, kind of gave the assignments, but we all just kind of tried to keep up with where the apprentice was in their development and offered whatever we could along the way. So so I never have taken on someone from start to finish. I've considered it, and that's something Gabe keeps pushing for. A lot of what we're doing, rebranding Fireside, we need an apprentice type to kind of help with a lot of the transcribing of episodes and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, you really need to just get an apprentice on board to help with this and to help them along the way. But I just don't know that I don't know that I would be a very good mentor at this point. I just can't put the time in that people need early on in their development. So I don't see it working, but who knows, maybe at some point.
You have to really nurture a lot of questions and to make it really work.
Yeah. It's a full-time job to do it right. And and I just don't think that I'm in a great position for it. But it's unfortunate. Fireside kind of took over my life fairly quickly. Whenever I first left and moved to a private studio, I was probably early on. There was a short window that I probably could have taken on an apprentice and actually did a better job of creating my content around that. That actual apprenticeship. I think that would have been a good way to start, but I just didn't do it that way. And now we're just too far in. I don't see how I could make it work. We have a handful more people here. That King Yoder said they're painting while listening, and then Amber Morgaine. I know that name. I'm not exactly sure why. It says tuning in from Mays Landing, New Jersey. Normally don't get a chance to catch the live cast, and usually watches the replays. So that's cool.
Speaking of, I'm going to pull up something else that is in the news now. Caroline Evans, correct?
Yes.
She was at the BYOB. I see her all over the place.
Okay,
she's a Reinventing member. So I'm going to play a little video for you guys. Speaking of New Jersey, so the artist or the person watching from New Jersey, tell me if you've heard of this.
Amber. Yeah.
Amber. Let me make sure I can hear the sound. Just 1 second. I'm going to re-pull this up so that I can hear the sound.
Okay.
So there's an issue in New Jersey with regulation again, and Caroline here is talking about it.
I'm making this quick video to let you guys know that the New Jersey Body Art Code is up for discussion. There are new proposals. And the open comment section for the public closes tomorrow. Sorry for the late notice, but that's life. The APT has found the section regarding pigment to be highly problematic. They're referring to Title 21, a federal policy that could effectively ban 100% of the tattoo pigments we use. The Title 21 doesn't apply to tattoo pigment, and it shouldn't be used to govern tattoo pigments. The FDA is currently working on this so we don't end up with a pigment ban like we've seen in the European Union. If we, as the APT, understand the code correctly, this would be worse than the EU ban, where currently only 70% of the pigments have been banned. Please look at my link tree that I will have on my profile. Hey guys, this is Caroline Evans.
Yep. So Caroline, when she says APT, that's Association of Professional Tattooers. Okay, so she does have some information up, and I will also share that with you guys, where it's representatives or the body art code in itself. It's pretty interesting because I haven't read through the whole thing, but if you guys go to Caroline Evans' profile, her link tree has all of this stuff, the representatives to contact. And this is backdating, so I don't think you can still comment on it. This was from Friday. She posted Friday, and the day that it ended was Friday.
Okay. You mentioned New Jersey specifically. This is, but this
Only
is
in New Jersey.
Only in New Jersey. Okay.
Yep. So if you go to her stuff, you can see all of the different stuff. All of this is public.
Okay.
Yep. And then again, the FDA response. It's stuff that we all think about, but we all think about it being as far out, you know.
Yeah.
It's loading a little slow. I can't recommend enough for you guys to actually know who your representatives are in advance, even if it's just having them logged into your email or have their addresses or something. Because in a case like this, where you need to act fast and you have something you can print out and mail, it makes the whole thing a lot easier to, you know, if Caroline found this out on a Thursday or Friday and she had until Friday evening to comment, it would have been, you know, and she's a part of the APT. They're pretty well, you know, they know what's going on.
Yeah. That's scary. What was she said it could be, what New Jersey was proposing could be worse than the EU ban, banning essentially all of the pigments.
Kind of, and that could be, you know, like a really intense deep dive looking at it. It's a potential, so I can't say that would happen. But what happened in Europe that kind of is like what's happening in New Jersey is a reclassification. And reclassification, if you're in another line, then you have to follow by that line's rules. So and that happened in Europe, but Europe was essentially just targeting at first the phthalo blue and the phthalo green.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Whereas this is much different.
Yeah, I guess I've been thinking about this more on a federal level and not on a state level at all.
Sure. I like the nerdy stuff, I'm not gonna lie, but so that one of the links also talks about the inks and what type of challenges that the FDA faces. And it's a lot of boring stuff, but guys, seriously, if you have an apprentice or you have somebody in the shop, that it doesn't hurt to know these things, because this is our world. This is what we have our lives focused around. So sometimes, like, for example, if something were to happen in Wisconsin, I wouldn't expect you, Jake, to be following what's happening in Wisconsin. So we all kind of share the weight on our shoulders of what's going on in our cities, our regions, our states. And, you know, because sometimes other states follow suit. So say this happens in New Jersey, New York could follow suit, which is much more impactful. But if we all pay attention, we'll see these things coming and be able to know how to react to them.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I mentioned previously, Arkansas was also another victim of this. So the viewer watching in Arkansas could maybe attest to that, where recategorization or reclassification, or, you know, there's a certain very small group that are communicating with representatives. So those things happen under our noses all the time, and it could be detrimental. You know, like if I spoke of this, so for those that you don't remember, they were basically requiring certain types of licenses, but yet at the same time, there was no one to issue that license. So you're really, and not only for permanent technicians, makeup technicians, or however you categorize them, tattooing and body art modification is kind of lumped into one.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Yeah. I wondered, you know, just where the evidence is coming from, by and large, that's the catalyst for a lot of this stuff. I remember a few years back, and I think I've brought it up on the show before, when we were doing the tattoo physics and science series, and Sean Bellina said that that the FDA or the federal government is they're paranoid by design, and as the number of people that are tattooed or heavily tattooed becomes like larger and larger, the possibility for like, you know, epidemic level issues arises. And so he made the comment that, you know, if a surgeon has to crack someone's chest open for an emergency open heart surgery and they have a full chest piece, the surgeon, you know, ideally would like to know, you know, what's in those inks, you know, that might be leaching into, you know, into the body. And but I, you know, I've never heard, I tattoo a handful of, say, like trauma doctors and trauma nurses. In fact, in Memphis, we have Regional 1, the Med is what we call it, and it's the only like level 1 trauma unit within 5 states. So it's like a renowned trauma unit here. And I tattoo 2 longtime nurses in that trauma unit right now, and a doctor. And I've never heard of any, as heavily tattooed as they are, that conversation I think would have come up at some point. And I've never heard of any issues, you know, arising on a level that would call for this type of reaction from, you know, from government bodies or from health departments.
Speaking of, so my friend over at Sanoderm, her name's Alicia. She's married to Danny Belden. She kind of had some surface conversations with me about cadavers and some of the things that they're going to be looking into in terms of cadavers. So maybe that's something that we could learn from them because a cadaver is much different than a living being, to see what happens to your skin, to your body, you know, post-mortem. So I'd love to bring her on. She's interested in coming in on a show where Sanoderm has done some of those types of series in the past. I don't know that I could reference them right now, but it was super interesting. So I'd love to bring her on. If you guys have any information about studies like that, just let us know.
Yeah. Looks like Amber in New Jersey was familiar with that already. She said all of us in Jersey are waiting with bated breath and emailing our reps trying to educate them on what they're trying to make these arbitrary laws about. So that's good. She was already kind of up to date on that.
So Amber, I'm curious if you can comment back, were the state representatives aware of this, or is this kind of under everyone's nose? I'm just curious. If you said educate them on it, it seems as though they might have not had any idea, which would also make sense because there's a lot going on in the world aside from tattoo pigments.
Yeah, sure.
Australia, if anyone's watching from Australia, them as well, they were paying very close attention to what happened in Europe. I think they were going to adopt some of those policies, but then realized the backlash was very strong for that.
Yeah.
Even still in Europe, even still, we're seeing a sort of disconnect between the mandates and the enforcement, right? And that's a huge part, because as of right now, if, you know, for example, World Famous or Intends, they're approved, but there's no one regulating that. They had to jump through tons of hoops and ladders and spend millions of dollars. There's a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
But to do that, which is good, they know that they're good. But who's going to come in and tell them that they're good?
Right.
And that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to never see it put in place. That in my experience dealing with, you know, with government regulation, tattooing as long as I have, you know, setting the rules up is one thing, and then enforcing them are just doing due diligence, seeing if they make any sense in the long run, is where things seem to fall apart. I don't know if I've ever told you about my experience moving to a private studio, but I was the first person in Memphis to do that, move from a shop to a private studio.
Okay.
And so our local health department, the Shelby County Health Department, does surprise inspections, and they do them quarterly, something like that, pretty regularly. And so they just walk in and they want to see, you know, your spore tests on your, you know, on your autoclave, and they want to run the autoclave and get it up to pressure and make sure that it's holding. They want to see all of your documentation for everyone that you've tattooed and all that type of thing. And so I reached out and I told them that I ran this Fireside Tattoo Network. I was moving to a private space. I would be tattooing, but mainly for educational purposes. And it would be appointment only, and there would be no signage, no walk-in time, no front desk. You know, it's like, I don't know how you'll inspect me, but this is what I'd like to do. So it ends up taking a little while. I went all the way up the ladder to the person that runs that. It's not just tattooing, it's lumped in with a lot of other stuff, but that runs that kind of part of the organization. And so she came out personally and did my inspection. And I was all disposable, luckily. So she didn't have, there's no need for an autoclave or anything like that, but she just wanted to check, you know, the space and check my sink and make sure I had the separate, you know, sink for, you know, for tattoo needles and things than we have for washing our hands and all that. And so she said, okay, I'll just reach out to you to schedule the inspections. We'll just do them every 6 months. And that was 2015. And I've never heard from or seen her again. I pay my renewal fee every time it comes up, but that's like, that didn't surprise me at all. You know, it's just like you especially for something like that, you know, I'm surprised they even let me do it at all, but it opened a door. Now there are tons of private studios in Memphis. As soon as I got the okay to do that, my email was full from local tattooers who were like, what was that like? Yeah, how do I get started? I think I'd like to leave my shop and do the same thing. And so now there are tons and tons of private studios. And I'd be curious to know, I don't know if any of those guys watch this show, but I'd be curious to know if any of the other local tattooers have heard from the health department since they opened, you know, their private spaces. But yeah, the regulation, you know, putting something in place is completely separate from actually following up and seeing if the rules that you've set make any sense at all or need to be tweaked, or, you know.
It just puts tattooers right in the middle, though. That's so problematic, because first of all, if you're looking at the line that's approved, you have to come to terms with color strength, you know, because the ingredients that are being used in these formulas, like we have an EU formulation and such, but color strength is impacted. We have done special things because that's our expertise to kind of navigate through those waters. But, you know, if I was an artist, I'd prefer to use what I'd always been using. If I was an artist in Europe, you know, so if I don't have to do something, but I'm afraid of certain regulatory action being taken on me, it's just puts me in a weird spot, you know, especially for ongoing pieces.
Yeah. That's,
you know,
that's
and that happens all the
part.
time. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if I'm a client in the middle of a large scale piece in Europe and you know, and I'm in a rush to get that thing finished right now before do they have a year or so before that actually goes into place? Can't they still use their existing inks for a little while, or?
About 7 more months, I'd say, or like until January.
Yeah, I would be maxing out my credit card, getting worked on every month until that tattoo was finished to make sure I was done within the 7 months.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. It's like, it's just one of those things that if everybody's going to point fingers, well, you should have done this, you should have done this. But well, what we can learn from that is exactly what's happening in New Jersey right now in terms of the United States. There's a large portion of, so inks are made here, needles are not made here, you know, so there's different things that we can really focus on, but we know a lot of products are made in the United States. So we should be savvy to everything that's possibly getting regulated, as tattooers, as manufacturers, as vendors, as anyone in the industry, just being aware.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, we've got a handful. Amber did, she did comment back and said the regulators are let's see, their reps really don't have any knowledge of the tattoo world or the science behind ink and skin, which you really need to understand how and what you're regulating. Let's see, we've got a couple of other comments on here. Clocks, locks, and keys started chiming in. The industry just needs the time to move from a pure alcohol medium for the pigment as opposed to rubbing alcohol.
Oh, we have something that may work. But our formula will be different for Europe than it is for the United States.
Okay. Do you, what does it affect the qualities of the ink all that much? The two, I mean, they're pretty comparable?
I would say, you know, isopropyl alcohol has its own effects on skin. It depends on what you need. You need a biocide. You have to have a biocide with the pigment. So there's different carriers and there's different pieces of the puzzle that are incorporated, but there is definitely an alternative for isopropyl alcohol, and it would depend on the percentage of the formula that it's used in to make that a big difference.
Okay.
Whereas like if you were to open up a bottle of raw right now or something, you open it up and it has a particular smell, and that like fresh mixture is kind of like our biocide that we use, and you can see it right on the bottle with any different bottle as to what they use, witch hazel or alcohol or anything like that, and the particular alcohol that is used varies.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, by the way, your ink science episodes are seriously really interesting. And I watched those so long ago. They're some of my favorites. Actually,
Thanks.
I was sharing my friend Gia out of Australia. Her and I talk back and forth all the time. And I was sharing some of your stuff, but I didn't know where to go either. So I'm glad that you're kind of
Trying to organize it in that way. Yeah, those, and I'd like to take more credit for those episodes, but really that was all driven by Sean, Belina, and the guys over at S8. They I basically, I had a general list of questions or things I wanted to tackle, but they were so much more knowledgeable that they guided me in how to steer the conversation. And then most of the editing was done by them too. So I was really happy with how it turned out. I'd love to work with them more. We just haven't found.
Isn't he in Wisconsin?
That's the other guys from Spirit. Yeah.
Spirit. Okay.
Sean is he's bounced around a little bit. He's actually in Huntsville now. He was
okay.
Kind of crazy. They've bounced around a little bit, but yeah, the other guys from Jeff and Hunter from Spirit, who are also partners in S8, are up in Wisconsin. At least Jeff is. Hunter is a son, and I don't know, he may have moved. I think he moved out west somewhere, but yes, but you're right. Spirit's out of
which would make sense because we produce a shitload of paper. The plant right down from my house is called Ticonderoga, as all of us have heard of. And they make so much paper. My daughter's high school mascot is a paper maker.
Oh, really?
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But yeah, that's cool. Man, with one of the episodes you did with Sean, I believe, it was about silicone that I thought was so interesting, and how
different weights of silicone and all that. I was really that was eye-opening for me as well. And we had a lot of feedback after that, people just wanting to know where they get a silicone-based tattoo ointment. And of course S8's is silicone-based, but the thing that I've always tried to I try to offer, because they're not tattooers, so I try to offer like the tattoo perspective on all of their products. And I love that ointment, the silicone-based ointment, but it smells like silicone, like out of a tube, like out of a caulk gun. And I'm always like, man, you got to make it smell like something people want on their skin. It doesn't nothing about that makes me want to put it on my skin. But I loved his explanation of how silicone is kind of like self-healing and overlaps like snake scales almost. So like you can puncture it and it kind of will layer back over itself. And I was like, and so his description of some of those lightweight silicones is that they can literally be like, you can put those over a fresh tattoo in place of a bandage, and they behave like a bandage would, the way that the molecules overlap and seal. But that's
super interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. And that's, that stuff is all in his background. He's done a lot of stuff over the years. He's a super, super smart guy. And so his background was in biophysics. And so he's done a lot of, it's funny how like, he's just one of these guys that he understands things on a different level. He masters things really quickly, and then he's off onto something. He has no focus for any period of time. He's onto something new. That's why it's hard to get him to do anything on tattooing now. He's kind of like, personally, I mean, S8's still doing what they do, but Sean is like in a whole other world now. You can't get him like reeled back into the tattoo world at all anymore.
Man. Yeah, it's interesting. It'd be cool to talk to someone like that, or, even Eddie. I'm friends with Eddie from H2 Ocean. How people can really navigate the world of aftercare, or even the world of pigments or the world of needles, and forget the sponsorship, just forget all of that and navigate towards what is the best possible product I could be using, especially aftercares. There's a million different options for stuff like that. But he sounded so smart. I really loved all of those episodes that you did.
Yeah, thanks.
I think I watched them back to back to back.
Yeah, back in the day when he was dialed completely in on just pushing technology and tattooing as far as he could, he would give out information and was eager for me to push it out. At the time, we were one of the few kind of regular outlets of the tattoo world outside of, well, I don't know. We're in the earlier 2000s, we were one of the only outlets, and so he was eager for us to push it out because he was like, I would love for someone to do something better so that we could jump in and work harder and do something better, so that we're constantly one-upping each other, and that was kind of what he was looking for, and I guess probably still is, S8 as a whole and Spirit still are looking for, but like I said, I wish I still had Sean's attention the way that we did a few years ago. It was a lot of fun.
Maybe one day we can pay a little visit in Wisconsin.
Yeah, yeah, maybe so. Maybe so.
That's where I live.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I've got a few more folks here. So let's see. We've got. I'm trying to go back. We've missed quite a bit. Yeah. Clocks, Locks, and Keys said isopropyl alcohol is the issue with inks. Witch hazel is usually 14% iso alcohol as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Amber says that she likes to make her watercolor papers. I never, I wanted to do paper making when I was in art school. It looked so cool. We had a big paper making studio, and I just never got into it. But
that's cool. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you can't upload photos in the chat, but
yeah, it'd be cool if we could. Clocks, Locks, and Keys said, love the show, by the way, and the Silicode episode was amazing. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and then then there are a couple of questions, but Dan asked what the silicone brand was, and then Clocks, Locks, and Keys answered it is S8's tattoo ointment. That is that's correct. And Locks, Clocks, and Keys says he's in San Diego, one of my favorite towns, with my buddy Aaron Delavadova out there.
Delavadova? I like saying that.
Yeah, yeah. Clocks, Locks, and Keys, where are you a tattooer in San Diego? If so, where do you work? I don't know that many shops out there, but it seems like there are a lot of really, really great ones. The Grand Reaper is out there as well, isn't that? That's Justin Hartman and what's his name? Like Glendale Bully. Do you know those guys?
Not personally.
Oh, I don't know them personally either. They're really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of great tattooers in San Diego. I love it out there.
Cool. So all of you guys watching, you seem like pretty savvy or interested in some of those compositional questions or whatever. So maybe Jake, we could dive in one of these days, maybe not today, about like really what is in ink, really what is in your aftercare. I'd love to bring on Hannah Wolfe to the show, as I've spoken of her before, and she would probably be willing. She's super nice, probably busy, but she wrote The Science of Tattooing, I've referenced before. Yeah. And that really dives in. It is a science book, but really great material. I have a copy somewhere around here that I've read cover to cover.
You've mentioned that to me before, and so have several other people. Let me make a note. I need to order. It's
let me see if I have it. Yep, physical or a Kindle version.
Yeah, people have mentioned her to me several times over the years, and for whatever reason, I've never looked her up. Hannah Wolfe, Science of Tattooing. Okay, nice. It looks like a decent sized book. It's pretty thick book. Yeah.
Let me just show you an example of why I say it's an boring science. And this is stuff that you'd need to know. So the first page I opened was about viral infections and bacterial infections.
Oh, wow.
And as tattooers or clients, there's information that like you freak out if you don't know the science behind it. So that's why I always am friends with Jason Leeser. Thank you for everything. I'll call him and ask him all of this stuff just in the case that it ever does come up. Because if you don't really know what you're talking about, it's very, very easy to steer a client in the wrong direction. I mean, infection is one thing. It talks about needles, talks about chemistry of tattoo pigments and dyes. Needles, which one of the things I liked about this book, we could talk to Hannah about, are also responsible for infection, even up to 50% as much. So pigments are one thing, but needles are very, very important because the way that the skin works, they're constantly in and out, and it's potential to shave off a little bit of that metal unless you're using high grade metal. So rabbit holes galore with this book.
Bet.
But find it on Amazon. It's not an expensive book. It could be more, I think, but she probably just wants to get it out there to everybody. I'll pick it up today.
Do
it.
I will. I don't know if it was in an episode or what, but I had a needle conversation with Sean Bellina once, and we did talk about different grades, how like steel was rolled, different qualities, both of the needles and then also of the plastics that are used in the cartridges as well. And he went through kind of a grading system with me. I don't know if we did that I don't think we did that on an episode. I think we were just talking.
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. I'll reach out to him too and see if maybe he would be willing to do that.
The other thing about it is just like the fact that it just unbeknownst really, and it's not common knowledge or even thought processes to think about that, because there's so many products and availability and all these things. But if you kind of open up your eyes a little bit, it might kind of steer you in another direction for what products you use.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I think that what got me to bring that, what the way that conversation started is I was using one of the, I forget what brand it was, but noticing that like it was some of the white cartridges, and noticing that they were starting to come apart and gum up in the gum up the mechanism of the machine. You know what I mean? So like I would take the cartridge out and you could just see all the kind of white residue in the receptor of the cartridge. You could kind of just scrape it out. And it was like, man, these cartridges are like coming apart. I guess they're heating up or coming apart or something. And that's when we started talking about the qualities of the plastics and then the qualities of the needles. And yeah, that'd be a great thing.
A friend of mine, he was talking to me about how, in the 80s, they were making acupuncture needles. He's Chinese. And then they his father had this company, and they kind of realized that they're fantastic products for, tattoo needles. And it's a China-based company. So, maybe the origins have something to do with the materials used, or maybe X, Y, or Z, but it would be quite interesting to hear exactly what the effect of those are. And I do know that Hannah will be, or is looking to write another volume number 2 of this book. And maybe it'll have a little bit more of that information as well. Yeah. Because then you can kind of, once you know that, you can kind of identify what the problem was.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be cool to have her on sometime. We should. And you do know her? You guys?
Yeah, I've talked to her on the phone before, and she's also friends with Selena. Geez, I forget her last name, but she's on the board for AFTO, and she also does a lot of compliance stuff for World Famous. It's just stuff that we talk about. We're all friends. We all, make sure we stay in contact with each other. Yeah, that'd be cool. Should definitely try to get her on, and I'll that'll be a catalyst for me to order the book today and read it, so I'll be able to contribute to the conversation. Yeah, geez, I couldn't recommend it enough. It's almost like that mandatory reading that you really need to do. And it talks about reactions. It talks about what's happening in your brain when you get a tattoo. So just great stuff, conversation starters or things, Yeah. If anyone's watching, I'd love to hear some comments about like what type of nerdy stuff that you nerd out on, or like stuff that we could talk about. Cause
it's funny, you end up overlooking that type of stuff so regularly the longer that you tattoo. I think that when you start to work out the technical parts of tattooing, and you just find that you almost never have, like, if something comes back at the end of a session, if it comes back for the next session kind of healed roughly or beat up, I probably already knew it. It was an area that I was trying to do something, and it wasn't what I wanted. So I tried to make a change on the spot, and I knew the skin was getting overworked, and I left it. And when it comes back, I'm like, oh yeah, I knew that was probably going to happen. But for the most part, your tattoos come back the way that you want them to. But on that rare occasion that someone is reacting, every once in a while, I'll get someone that will text me like a photo and being like, look at these little bubbles on my inner arm. What is that? And without any type of knowledge about what you just put in the skin, you're just like, I don't know, maybe switch to Neosporin for a little while, and we'll just deal with whatever happens to it. You find yourself kind of like stuck, and you don't have a good answer, but it happens so rarely, which is why I think a lot of the stuff with the inks is just, it's still so hard for me to wrap my mind around, because I can't think of a single ink issue I've had in, 15 years, maybe some of the, reds years ago or whatever, but almost, or oranges disappearing, but almost no
we
reactions
can talk about that.
Inks. Yeah, that'd be a good one to talk about. And I still, I haven't tried. I know you sent me some pictures of some of Raw's healed oranges. I still haven't used a single pre-mixed orange in so many years. Funny. And I have some raw orange. I need to use it in something.
Tang would probably be your go-to for that Tang.
Tang. Yeah, I do. I have a bottle of that.
Man, I saw some pieces and I don't want to name drop, but I saw a piece by Dave Tevenall that was badass, but the orange is just gone.
Yeah. So many. I saw a piece, a guy that I tattooed years and years ago that I just follow on Instagram. He just gotten his private pilot's license, and I did this sleeve on him probably, I don't know how many years ago, but it's a picture of him like next to his plane, like giving a thumbs up so I can see his entire arm. He's wearing like a tank top. It was all like mint blues, like light baby blue, brown and orange. And so like it's a real simple color palette. the tattoo is literally baby blue and skin tone. Like at least in the photo, the best I can tell, it's just like, oh my God, there's none of that color in there. And it's a whole sleeve. I haven't seen him in, probably a decade, but it's just like, man,
And I'm sure he gets a lot of sunlight.
Yeah, it probably gets a lot of sun.
A lot.
It's just so crazy to see a tattoo that you're like, wow, the blues hold, that's for sure. I mean, as light as that blue is, it still reads clearly, but all the oranges and browns were just.
I was talking to Guy about this recently, because obviously he sees his work come back all the time. And one of the things to kind of note is a light fast rating of the pigments that were actually used. So like, for example, Eternal, I think, uses 13 different pigments, and then from there, anything can be made, 350 colors. I think we use 18 or 19, and different companies use different pigments, but you also have the choice to choose, and you'll get a light fast rating from 1 to 8. And so 8 is exceptional. And then you kind of have a grade in between there. For usability, there's different things and factors that affect it, but our oranges have exceptional light fast ratings. So I can't say the same for other companies, but you will notice a difference. And that's just something, I'm not saying you ever have to use ink from one company, but when it comes to like a specific color, just do some of those spot checks, because it doesn't have to be the way that it's always been. Yeah.
Especially for some of the more like fugitive inks, the colors that have been known to cause troubles. If you can show a light fast rating on those, then it makes it really easy to choose which manufacturer to buy from, especially if you can compare those things. I wouldn't throw anyone under the bus, but like, it was something that Jesse and I had been talking about after, his seminar, even specifically what he did in his shop. We have a couple more minutes to talk, but he basically did his own light fast ratings. And that's cool. You really, it's really informative. You can see it. And he did his over the course of 2 years. In his seminar, he went through all of that, and he showed slides of all of them. And it's crazy how a lot of them didn't just disappear. They turned into a completely different, crazy color over a year or 2 years, like oranges that turned like green gray, or muddy brown, or just weird colors in those light fast tests. Jesse he's really done a lot of thorough work on this, and he's limited his palette, and he's worked with Tramp at Eternal. But basically he found those 13 or 14 colors that Eternal was using, and he's limited to like 8 of those. I forget exactly what they are. 5.
There's 3 colors, a black and a white.
It's pretty crazy. That was really I learned a lot in his seminar about that. Before we wrap up, because these folks are still sharing some information here. King Yoler asked what the book is called again. They want to order it now. It's The Science of
Please
Tattooing.
do. It's a great, even your clients, you'll feel more comfortable. It's so she started working on this in 2017. So there's a lot more material that would be coming, but wow, is there a lot of great information in here. And plus the references, gosh, there's so many other rabbit holes, and we're all kind of in a boat where we want to know stuff. It's just a matter of like, oh, now I have to research X, Y, and Z, and it's all over the place. This is a nice central location for really good information.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm ordering it today. Let's see. So that you had asked what everyone nerds out on. Dan says he nerds out on machines and all the gear aspect. Clock, Locks, and Keys said they nerd out on all things science-based, love sci-fi, fantasy, 3D modeling. And they are actually a carpenter at Union Local 619. Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, man, I wish I was a better carpenter. Carpentry is one of those things, like, I love it so much. I love to dive in. I just hung a new door at our house. I don't know if you can tell looking behind me, but like this house was built almost 100 years ago, and it has a lot of really high level craftsmanship. And so when I had the opportunity to hang a new door, our doors are all like 9 feet tall, and they have these these crazy, they're like 3/4 glass. And so just the slab of the door is so expensive to buy that I was like, I want to do this myself. It took me about 2.5 days to hang one door, but it works so well. I love it. But yeah, I love carpentry. Let's see. Amber says, thanks to Jake, my oranges don't fall out anymore. I mix them now. Well, you could always try Tang from Raw Pigments and see how that goes too.
Real quick, well, to touch on that, it's because obviously there's combinations of pigments to make one. So you could have a great light fast ink combined with a really shitty one, and then that's kind of how the color changes, because multiple colors, as you know, as Jesse knows, as Amber probably knows, the combination is really what it is. Right. Whether it's the undertone or the layer, whatever process you use. But
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. One last, I know we're over now, so we need to wrap it up.
Oh, okay. Yep.
This will be the last. Amber says she earns out on ink and nails. Dan says he went to tattoo school there and went to get their license now. Watches the Fireside videos to learn more until I can find someone to help out. Man, awesome. Well, thanks for the support. And Clocks, Locks, and Keys says, love those Caravaggio style paintings, by the way. Thank you. I'm never going to finish that, the one that's right behind me here. I don't think. It just sits there in a permanently unfinished phase. I need to get back on it one day. So, well, cool. What, so you're going to be next week, you're in Tahoe. Will you be back for Monday or no?
I'm not sure. I'll try my best. I'm pretty sure that I can.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be traveling back Monday, actually, now that I think about it, from Space City.
Okay.
So we may find that we're in a little bit of a bind for next week, depending on everyone's travel schedule, but we'll play it by ear, try to let everyone know.
Yep. And then next month, Hell City.
Hell City. Yeah, we finally get to hang out in person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited. So
Okay.
cool.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching episode number 28. We're creeping towards 30. We'll see you either next week or the following week with some more cool stuff. Also this week, I'm moving into my studio. So I'll have some, probably a new backdrop and a new scene coming up
excited.
soon.
That place looked, I got the little tour of it a few weeks ago. It looked super cool. Yeah,
Yep.
That's going to be great. Cool. Well, I'll be at Space City. Anyone in the Southeast this weekend, I'm teaching my Find Your Style seminar on Sunday. I left a link in the Fireside video description if you want to check that out. It's only in person. It won't be online, but if you want to make a trip to Huntsville, maybe we can drink a beer.
Yep. Or two.
Cool. Or two.
All right. Thank you, everybody.